Imagine. It's night. 40,000 years ago. The sun disappeared hours ago, and now the world belongs to the darkness. No cities. No roads. No moonlit villages. Only an endless forest stretching in every direction. The air is cold. You hear insects calling from somewhere in the trees. Leaves rustle softly in the wind. Then, something moves. A slow breath echoes from the darkness. You can't see it. But you know, something is there. In the middle of a small clearing, a teenage hunter sits silently beside a tiny fire. Its orange light reaches only a few steps before being swallowed by the black forest. Beyond that light, nothing exists. Only darkness. Then, two glowing eyes appear between the trees. They don't blink. They simply watch. The hunter doesn't move. The fire crackles. A shower of tiny sparks rises into the night. For a long moment, the creature refuses to come any closer. That small flame, no bigger than a few pieces of burning wood, is the only thing standing between life and death. Cut to black. But if fire once meant survival, why do humans still love staring into it today? Thousands of years have passed since that night. The forests have become cities. Campfires have become electric lights. And predators no longer wait just beyond the edge of the darkness. So here's the question. Why can so many people sit in front of a campfire for hours, without feeling bored? Why does a fireplace make a house feel warm, even before it actually heats the room? Why does the soft glow of a single candle instantly make everything feel calmer? And why do millions of people around the world willingly watch fireplace videos, even though they can feel no heat and smell no smoke? Is fire simply beautiful to look at? Or is something much older happening inside your mind? What if every flickering flame is quietly activating a memory that was written into the human brain long before civilization ever existed? By the end of this video, you won't just see fire as burning wood. You'll understand why one of humanity's oldest companions still has the power to capture your attention, thousands of generations later. Most people believe the story of fire is simple. One day, early humans discovered how to control it. And from that moment on, life became easier. But that's only half the story. Because the real surprise is this. Humans didn't simply master fire. In many ways, fire mastered us. It slowly reshaped who we became. Generation after generation, it influenced how our ancestors lived, how they survived, and eventually, how they evolved. Without fire, your face might not look the way it does today. Your body could have developed differently. The way you sleep at night, the way families gather together, the way people share stories, and perhaps even the rise of civilization itself, might never have happened. Fire didn't just keep ancient humans warm. It quietly transformed the path of our entire species. It wasn't just another tool, like a spear or a stone axe. It became something much deeper. A force that helped shape the human experience itself. And once you see what fire truly changed, you'll realize that every flame you see today is connected to a story that began hundreds of thousands of years ago. Now, let's travel back nearly 1 million years. Long before cities. Long before farming. Long before anyone knew what civilization was. The earth was wild, unpredictable, and unforgiving. At that time, humans couldn't create fire. They had no matches, no lighters, no way to spark a flame whenever they wanted. Instead, they waited for nature to do it first. A bolt of lightning would strike a dry forest. Within seconds, flames would race across the land. Trees collapsed. Smoke filled the sky. Animals fled in every direction, desperate to escape. But after the fire finally burned itself out, something unusual happened. While most creatures stayed away, our ancestors slowly walked toward the ashes. What they found was unlike anything they had experienced before. The ground was still warm beneath their feet. Some dangerous predators had been driven away. And scattered across the burned landscape were animals that had already been cooked by the fire. The food was softer, easier to eat, different from anything they had tasted before. For early humans, these burned forests became unexpected opportunities instead of places to fear. But eventually, someone made a remarkable decision. Instead of leaving the last glowing embers behind, they picked up a burning branch. They carried it carefully, protected it from the wind, fed it with dry wood whenever it began to fade. The fire wasn't created. It was kept alive. Camp after camp, generation after generation. That precious flame was passed from one group to another. It became something worth protecting. Something that could not be easily replaced. And for the first time in human history, night no longer belonged entirely to the darkness. As the fire flickered beneath the stars, families gathered close together. Children sat quietly beside their parents. Hunters returned with stories from the day's journey. Knowledge was spoken instead of forgotten. Lessons were remembered. Traditions were shared. Without realizing it, our ancestors had created something far greater than a source of light. Around those glowing flames, the first classrooms appeared. The first storytellers found their audience. The first communities grew stronger. And in the quiet circle surrounding a campfire, the earliest foundations of civilization were beginning to take shape. But the greatest gift fire ever gave humanity wasn't warmth. It was change. Not just around us, but inside us. When early humans began eating cooked food, something extraordinary happened. Raw meat was tough. It took a long time to chew, even longer to digest. Every meal demanded enormous amounts of energy from the body. But fire changed that. Cooked meat became softer. Roots became easier to eat. Many harmful bacteria and parasites were destroyed by heat. For the first time, the human body could spend less energy breaking down food, and more energy supporting something far more expensive: the brain. The human brain uses an incredible amount of energy compared to the rest of the body. Over countless generations, this new source of available energy helped support larger and more complex brains. And as the brain grew, so did imagination, planning, problem solving, curiosity. But fire transformed more than our bodies. It transformed our nights. Before fire, darkness forced people to stay alert and isolated. Every strange sound could mean danger. Every shadow could hide a predator. But around a controlled fire, everything changed. People no longer faced the night alone. They gathered together. Hunters talked about the day's journey. Parents taught their children. Elders shared knowledge that couldn't be written down. The fire gave people something they had rarely enjoyed before: time. Time to speak. Time to listen. Time to remember. With every conversation, communication became more effective. Ideas spread farther. Memories lasted longer. Relationships grew stronger. Many scientists believe that keeping a fire alive also encouraged one of humanity's greatest strengths: cooperation. A fire couldn't survive if everyone ignored it. Someone had to collect wood. Someone had to protect the flames from rain and wind. Someone had to make sure the embers never completely died. It wasn't the work of one person. It was the responsibility of the entire group. And perhaps that's the most fascinating part of all. Your brain didn't evolve in brightly lit cities, or inside modern buildings. For hundreds of thousands of years, it evolved beside the steady glow of a campfire. But here's where the story becomes truly fascinating. Fire helped shape the human brain. Yet the most surprising part isn't buried in the past. It's happening right now. Think about it. You no longer need a fire to survive. You have electricity, heating, modern kitchens, artificial light. If every campfire disappeared tomorrow, your daily life would probably continue almost unchanged. And yet, the moment you see a real flame, something inside you changes. Your breathing becomes slower. Your shoulders begin to relax. The outside world feels a little quieter. Time itself seems to move differently. Why does that happen? Because your conscious mind lives in the 21st century. But parts of your brain were built in a world where fire meant something completely different. For hundreds of thousands of years, a burning fire wasn't decoration. It was proof. Proof that your family had warmth for the night. Proof that dangerous animals would think twice before coming closer. Proof that there was cooked food to eat, and another chance to see the sunrise. In other words, a burning fire sent one powerful message to the brain: we survive today. Scientists have found that watching a natural fire can reduce stress and encourage relaxation. That response may seem strange in the modern world, but it makes perfect sense in the ancient one. Because every flickering flame became associated with safety, comfort, and survival. That ancient reward system never completely disappeared. It was passed from one generation to the next, until it reached you. So when you find yourself staring into a campfire, or a fireplace, or even a single candle, you're not just enjoying the light. A very old part of your mind is quietly recognizing one of the oldest symbols of safety our species has ever known. Now look around your own life. Fire is everywhere. Not because we still need it to survive, but because, somehow, we never stopped making space for it. Think about birthdays. Before anyone cuts the cake, everyone gathers around a small circle of dancing flames. For a few quiet seconds, every eye is fixed on the candles. Then there are bonfires. Friends sit together for hours. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they tell stories. Sometimes they simply watch the flames in silence. No one tells them to keep looking. They just do. Go camping, and you'll notice the same thing. After the tents are set up and dinner is finished, people naturally drift toward the campfire. Conversations become deeper. Phones disappear. Time seems less important. The fire quietly becomes the center of the group, just as it did thousands of generations ago. Even in our celebrations, fire still holds a special place. During Diwali, millions of tiny lamps illuminate homes and streets. Around the world, candles are lit during weddings, festivals, memorials, and moments of hope. A simple flame often says more than words ever could. Even at a backyard barbecue, people don't gather around the table first. They gather around the grill, around the fire. And perhaps the strangest example of all, millions of people willingly watch fireplace videos on their TVs, computers, and phones. There is no warmth, no smell of burning wood, no crackling heat on their skin, only moving flames on a screen. Yet somehow, it still feels comforting. Movies understand this instinct too. When filmmakers want a scene to feel safe, they often place characters beside a fireplace. When they want to show hope after hardship, they light a single candle. When they want to make a place feel like home, they let a fire burn quietly in the background. It's a visual language that almost everyone understands, without anyone needing to explain it. Because although we've traded caves for houses, wood fires for electric lights, and forests for cities, our instincts never truly moved on. Deep inside, part of the human mind is still sitting in a circle beneath the stars, watching a campfire flicker against the darkness. Maybe humans never truly fell in love with fire. Maybe we fell in love with what fire gave us. Not the flames themselves, but the feeling they created. Warmth, when the world was cold. Safety, when danger waited in the darkness. A place where families could gather, where children could listen, where stories could be told, where hope could survive one more night. For hundreds of thousands of years, a single flame meant that life would continue until morning. Generation after generation. That feeling became part of who we are. And perhaps that's why, even today, something as simple as a flickering candle can make us pause. Not because we need its light, but because somewhere deep inside, our ancient mind still understands what it once meant. Every flame is a quiet reminder of the countless nights your ancestors survived because light pushed back the darkness. The world around us has changed beyond recognition. We built cities. We invented electricity. We lit up the night. But some parts of the human mind still remember where they came from. So the next time you find yourself watching a candle dance, or sitting silently beside a campfire, don't think you're only watching burning wood. You may be looking at one of the oldest memories ever carried by the human brain. A memory that has survived for hundreds of thousands of years, and still burns inside us today.